Quit of the week. Na 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 na. Boom. Na 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 na. Boom. Goodbye. Cha cha cha. That was the quit of the week. In the comments, let me know if you want me to wrap it next week, or if you want me to go heavy death metal. Boom, Mike Evans. That's what you can get. Or if you want me to go like Luther Vandross, sensual quit of the week. I'm going to sing it a different way every single week. So here's some quick gameplay from my MUT team, and just basically showing you what I'm going to do on defense. We just got an opening drive real quick, but if you guys don't know, the MUT Podcast is basically where I break down everything Ultimate Team for you guys. This week we have Team Teardowns, where I'll actually break down two teams with their lineups from MutHead, and then also showing you some of my favorite defensive cards. So if you need defense, this is the game to watch. Now my opponent there, we got the sack on cover 2. How we got that sack was we contained using L trigger and then R1 before the snap. And that puts your defensive lineman on contain rushes. He must have tried to turbo out of the pocket, and that lets them in pretty easily. 3rd and 20, we go with a big blitz. He throws it right down the seam, which, you know what you're going to face later when you play a guy that's going to just throw in the seam like that. And we'll be working on combating that all game long. Here he goes for it on 4th and inches. Runs the play flanker drive. Interesting auto motion, interesting clogged area to throw into. Here, cover 2, we just simply use the coverage audible to shade down our guy. Gets underneath. That's Malcolm Smith, a very great zone coverage item. Here he goes to the gun type for the first time. We shade outside. So watch our zones drop outside. Look at that flat zone. Get deep. Knock the ball loose. That's just a quick shading that saved us a nice play. Here on 4th and 5, trying to get a big stop. Watch, we try and man up the tight end, and he ultimately does throw outside. So there we tried to go down because we figured he would throw short, and then he was able to sneak it in. So that's the difference between shading outside and not shading. Here we man up Aldon Smith on the tight end. He runs an angle route, and we get the interception. So that's huge, just manning up the guy, because he was throwing inside more often than not. And, we want to run the ball, and we got Reggie Bush. He can fumble, so we hold down that RB to make sure we protect the football all the way into the end zone. We get in and go up. He's going to drive on me here, and as you can see, he tries to run the read option. We contain it. Just a goofy move. Here, this is killer. I have everybody manned up on the inside. Don't get the pick, but so that's, once again, manning up the tight end on the inside. Here, I switch to man-to-man because I know he's going to try and throw in the seam. I bring the safety down into hooks, and he ultimately does throw the touchdown. But once again, you saw the quit of the week. And now we're going to jump into showing you some of the best players. That Mike Evans, you saw that catch. Let's play it back, though, real quick.
Launching it deep. What a catch!
So that is the 80 overall Mike Evans, and basically we are going to cover mostly defensive players, but this is a really good item. You can get for around 6,000 coins. Here we pay 7,000. It's come down a little bit, so we're going to pick up 2 of these and make sure we add them to our sets. We're going to pick up a long pass version. I just matched one with my quarterback because Kaepernick's long pass, and I feel like I'm going to have Cap for a while, so why not do that? Here we add them to the set, and we pick up the 83 version. If we're looking at defensive tackles, Sharif Floyd, I thought he might have a little bit of something. He's got some pass rush moves, but ultimately one player I really want to talk about that I think you can get great value. Aaron Donald's one if you're looking for like an acceleration pass rusher, but for 1,200 coins, Linval Joseph has 90 block shed and 93 strength. So you don't have, he's not a great pass rusher, but he's going to be the perfect fit to really hold things down on the defensive line. So if you look at a guy like Marcel Darius, we have Damon Harrison. Harrison's just an all-beef type guy with, really good strength and really good block shed. Joseph's going to match up similar to him but be a little bit quicker. Darius is going to have more of the power style moves to actually get after the passer, but he's going to cost you a little bit more. So Darius has a little bit of everything, but if you look at him against a guy like Steven Paella, who obviously put up 49 reps at the Combine because I watched it live and I was like, wow, that's a lot. Those are where you're going to save value. Darius can do a little bit of everything, but if you just get, a guy who can do some of it and then throw in another player for half the cost, even less than half the cost, you're going to be pretty good. Ultimately, your defensive line is working towards Poe. Poe, in my opinion, best defensive tackle in the game with great acceleration, really good speed for a D tackle, and then, of course, the power move. So the strength is there, the power move's there, pursuit's there, block shed's there. So that's you're paying for those 4 categories when you look at a defensive tackle. So go find somebody that can do some of those things and then sub them in at the right times. Start with Linval Joseph, and then move up to Poe as you go. Safety position, LaRon Landry is going to be the guy that you want in your secondary. 93 speed, 99 hit power. I have this Ed Reed that I thought was pretty decent, but the more and more I play with him, I realize he doesn't really have much of it. I've been starting to Clinton Dix over him. Clinton has, a new version of himself out, so I'm going to be looking into that. But ultimately, you want some speed at free safety to mix it up. Here we're going to take a look at Eric Reed instead of Ed Reed, and we're going to see for 4,000 coins, 4,500 coins, we can buy this Eric Reed. And when we compare him to LaRon Landry, who I like to blitz LaRon Landry. I don't like to have him in coverage. I would user control LaRon Landry because I feel like he can get in some trouble. I mean, he's only got 76 zone, but look at Reed with that speed. At strong safety position, Matt Elam is going to be a guy. Look at his numbers versus TJ Ward. TJ Ward, 85, better tackle and slightly better zone, but they have the same hit power, same speed, and I do have the TJ Ward, but for I think he's 40,000 coins. Matt Elam's 1,000. Is he 40 times better than TJ Ward? I don't think so. I'm gonna go ahead and buy this Matt Elam and just make sure that you're really getting value out of your elites. If you have an elite that you're not using or you don't think you're using properly for your scheme, why not downgrade and then spend the coins elsewhere? I never had a great quarterback. I spent a lot of coin on Cap to get it right, and I feel like that was a good choice. As we look at Dante Whitner, we'll compare him to some guys. I'd love to be able to compare to free safety and strong safety as well, just because I like to mix my guys up, and I don't think it really makes much of a difference. Here you see Whitner pretty good, but he's a little bit slower with the acceleration department and not quite as good tackling. Still pretty good hit power, though. And, Elam here, much better zone, or a little bit better zone. Pretty similar card, not worth the extra. Calvin Pryor, you got to like the 95 hit power and the speed and excel, but once again, lower zone. And here you can see Ward kind of does distance himself from a guy like Pryor, but maybe not so much Elam. If they do a next-gen Pryor, though, or the Rising Star Pryor, I think he could be a guy that would have a really nice item, but he's a good starter card as well. Like a guy like Rashad Jones, been in the league a couple years, gets a higher rated card. Not the best bang for your buck. A little bit slower. 79 zone is pretty good at strong safety, but he's no TJ Ward, that's for sure. But once again, we've already showed some guys comparable to him that we think we can get the job done with. So why not just pony up for Matt Elam, save some coin on Jones? And that's really the key to safety, because they're interchangeable and you can use them however you want. Those are a few guys that I like. There's one more guy that I really like here at safety. It's going to be Kenny Vaccaro. Now, he's a guy that's pretty expensive for the range that he's in. However, he actually does pay off because of his acceleration and then the hit power. He's a guy that's going to cost you, I think, 10,000 to 12,000 coins. That's that second tier after Elam, after Eric Reed and those guys, but I think he is worth it with that acceleration. The only other guy that I'd take a look at is Tyvon Branch, just because he has such good speed, but he doesn't really have the hit power that he had. He's not Tyvon Branch from the Madden 11 Raiders, and I don't blitz a lot and play man coverage, so his skill set doesn't really help me that much. So overall, the Branch could be pretty good if you're a huge man scheme guy, but he's not really what I'm into. So I'm going to go ahead and put the TJ Ward up on the block. And once again, I'm not going to sell it for cheap. I'm not trying to get rid of it. I'm not desperate. But if it can fetch me 40K, he's going for like 41, 42. So if I'm in that range, the starting price, I thought all right, 31K. But I don't really want to see him go unless I'm getting the proper price for him, like 37. So, usually if I was trying to move a guy, I'd do 39, buy it, 31, sell it. But here I don't really want to lose Ward if I don't have to, so let's move the starting price up just a little bit more, let people know, okay, if he moves, but at the same time, I'll take him back. I'll gladly have him on my squad. And, you got to play with him and test him and make sure, see if he's making plays. Linebackers have been a position that's been, pretty tough so far. There's a lot of really good options at the lower rated positions, guys like Manny Lawson and those players, but to really go to the next level would be a guy like Bobby Wagner. He's a guy that I haven't bought yet on my defense, so I'm going to go ahead and pick him up here. I was one linebacker short. I was always one linebacker short. I was playing a guy like Khalil Mack, playing a guy like Manny Lawson, playing a guy like, who else did I have in my lineup? Michael Kendricks. So I was playing a lot of guys like that, the lower rated athletic guys, as opposed to like the Jarrell Freemans, who are highly rated but not as athletic. So just by picking up a Bruce Carter and a Bobby Wagner, I can really, get pretty solid with my linebacking core. Mingo, I'm always just rotating guys and trying to find the right fit. And I feel like with Bobby Wagner, it's no longer a fit. It's like, nope, that's who is the guy. Bobby Wagner is the guy. Yes, he's a little more, but it really helps solidify my middle of my defense. And then I have, Malcolm Smith to drop for zone. I have, all the right players that I need. Whether you're going to play a 4-3 or a 3-4 can be dependent on your personnel, but to switch from a 4-3 to a 3-4 doesn't cost that much. So if you really would rather be playing the 3-4, but you pulled some cards that are more 4-3 based guys, like, don't feel bad about it. Once again, this Malcolm Smith, I already have one, but he plays excellent in zone coverage, is fast, and can really just be a nice middle of the defense hook zone guy that you don't have to worry about or user control. Bobby Wagner, if we take a look at him and match him up against a guy like DeMarcus Ware, we can see that, his speed's going to be similar. Even in Aldon Smith, he's faster, and his excel matches a little bit better in zone. Obviously, Aldon Smith, the reason he's elite is his tackles, play rec, his block shed, all that stuff, is what makes him so much more expensive. But if you're just looking at him to rush the passer, they have the same rating power move. He's got 93 power move, so they have the same excel speed power move. Urban's not going to shed blocks. He's not going to recognize plays. He's got a little bit better hit power, I think, but he might not pursue the play, but he can do some things that Aldon Smith can do for half the cost, for not even half, like 90% less of a cost. So, maybe you pick one of him in your lineup. Now, I want to show you the cornerback position, some good value guys. Keenan Lewis and Casey Hayward are two good zone players. I thought Casey Hayward was a little faster. I think he's only 85 speed. He plays a little bit better. At this point, though, if he's only 85 speed, I'm going to play Brandon Browner. He's got 3 less zone, but he's 6'4", so he's 5 inches taller. Doesn't have the excel. Hayward's really nice with the excel, but I'm going to try and flip them. You'll see me in the sample game earlier, I put Brandon Browner in because my opponent was running to the right a lot, and I got Hayward out of the game and put Browner in. Browner can tackle a little bit better. So that's the point of that. Keenan Lewis, very solid all across the board, can do a lot of things. 87 speed, though. This is where you look to a guy like Gilmore, who has 90 zone coverage, 92 speed. He's more athletic, and I think, these 4 guys are pretty much all the same, so whoever you come across is pretty good. Now, LaRon Landry, when I play nickel, I do something specific that Winners Kid people know about. I don't really play him in coverage. He's not going to really work out in coverage, so I would sub in, Gilmore in that situation. Now, Jason McCourty is got 90 zone, 90 speed. This would probably be the ultimate item. He's that Kenny Vaccaro second level dude that's like 10K. So I could look to pick him up in the future. We've talked about defensive tackle, but when you look at the D-line position, you see Hatcher's the highest rated. I mean, he has 92 finesse moves, so he's going to rush the passer a little bit. But when you think of him, you think he's more of like a 3-4 end, like that power style player. And those guys, I don't really feel like you get a lot of value of if you bring them in to rush the passer. I'd rather do a lot more with edge rushing and linebackers. So I'm not going to go ahead and spend a ton of money at right end. There's not really anybody I want that can rush the passer. If I had to pick somebody, Cliff Averill would be my cheap option, and Jadeveon Clowney would be my like 10K level option, that Kenny Vaccaro level, Jason McCourty level, second level guy that you pick up. Clowney's pretty nice off the edge. Here you see Averill's got the 93 finesse, 82 speed, so he's going to be a pretty solid pass rusher in the right situation. Now, I'm going to go ahead here and buy a player. I think it might surprise you guys a little bit who I go with. Overall, Spencer's a cheap option on the first tier of players. Clemens also could be another option with 80 speed, 89 finesse move. You want to look at finesse move, power move to determine. Ansa has really good acceleration and really good power move and speed. So he's another guy that you can bring in on to rush the passer as well at the end position. But overall, these guys are usually more like the right end is the more ample position where you have a lot of options that can actually rush the passer with the guys we talked about. The left end position doesn't really have what you need. In all seriousness, no, it's just about picking, the type of player that you want. We'll compare Clowney with DeMarcus Ware, who's a guy that we pulled at the right end position, and you can see, Ware's got the better strength and excel, but Clowney's a little faster. Same power move, so ultimately you're not, if you want to spend on the Ware, you could get the Clowney, but those guys are still both second-tier level guys. But I'm going to look to get my pass rushing on the defensive line from right ends, and then left ends is where I'm going to look for like beefier guys that can just hold up in the run game. I'm going to buy this Mike DeVito because for my right end, I just need him to pick up as many blockers as possible, and with 91 strength, 93 block shed, 96 pursuit play rec, this guy is going to eat up blockers and just free up hopefully some blitzers off the edge. He can hang in the run by himself. And yeah, he's not fast, and he's probably not going to get too many sacks on his own, but that's the way I set my defense up, how I need him to be. So for $3K, that's a fantastic deal for DeVito. Ruben's another, if you guys are really hurting for coins, with 93 tackle, 92 block shed, 94 strength. Just a guy for your goal line set, for your 5-2, for your 4-3 run stuffing front that can play left end, or he can play D tackle. Once again, going through the left ends, there's just not a lot of dudes. If you want an elite left end pass rusher, you've got to go up to the elite Cameron Wake to really find somebody that, in my opinion, is worth the cost, and that's just too expensive. So, guys, I hope you're digging the long podcast format. Leave a comment, let me know. We'll do offense next week, and we're going to get into some team teardowns right now. Make sure to send me yours. Basically, if you want to get your team broken down on the MUT Podcast, shoot me a link to your MutHead lineup. You can either tweet me at MaddenBible or ZFarls at MaddenTips.com. You can email me the link. I did a few last year. I know people like those. Now, this guy has a very, very good team. I know that DeMarco Murray is an excellent card that people are pretty into. It also helps me if you let me know what style you want to play. So, this lineup over here is a little bit easier for me. This one's from Synthesaur. He wants to know, should I play a 4-3 or a 3-4, and then I'm using the Rams offensive playbook, which is in the winner's kit. So it helps me know, what he's trying to do. So I'm going to go ahead and break these two down for you. Basically, Julius Thomas is going to be one of the best cards you're going to come up with for the tight end position. Really like what he can do. My only real beef with him would be a little bit of his run blocking. As you can see, it's going to be a little bit lower than some of the other players out there. So you're gonna miss out a little bit on that. But 65 though, not very bad, especially for a guy who's gonna have the height to get the job done for your squad with the speed, with some of the catch and traffic. If you're looking for a cheaper version of that card, maybe like a Jared Cook, who doesn't have quite the catch and traffic, but he's got that similar size frame, and he's already got the Jared Cook here, which we just talked about. 91 speed, 74 catch and traffic. I really like what he brings to the table. He hasn't really had a problem hanging on to the ball for me. I'm going to recommend the Dwayne Allen card as a way to get some run blocking involved in the passing game. Now, the Mike Evans, I'm a big fan of this card. This card's come down a lot. It's about 6,000 coins. You can get two of them for around 12K and level it up, make it pretty good. 89 speed, solid at this point. Very tall card, good jump. If you have the winner's kit, you can check out how you can use your catch with that card, and just big cards in general, and that's really going to help you if you get some one-on-one coverage. Now, the Steven Jackson, 84 speed's a little bit slow for me. I think you can get better value. The carry's good, but then you're going to see the trucking rating is only 89. You can get cards that you can get a Chris Ivory card that, in my opinion, is better than this card for, the same price, but unless you really like his catching out of the backfield, which he has been known to catch some balls. That's the only reason I'd really have this card over somebody else, but I think 74 is pretty solid, but I'd look to move on somewhere else because you kind of already have C.J. Spiller, who's going to be more of your screen style back. You don't want to be throwing to a guy with 84 speed. You'd rather throw to a guy like Spiller. He might fumble. It's pretty much a poor man's Reggie Bush right here. That's where I'd look to go to next. Now, Nick Foles as a quarterback. If you don't want a pocket passer, is Nick Foles a good option? Yeah, the play action is pretty important in Madden this year. 92 short, 92 throw power is good as well. So, these ratings all across the board are very solid. I like what you've done there with Nick Foles for 6,700 coins. I think you're getting good value as long as you don't want any speed. I'd like to see you pick up a backup who can, though, make some moves on the ground. Maybe you have one and just didn't fill him in. This Edelman, 90 route running, 87 catch in traffic, all pretty good. I'd like to see maybe a little bit better in the agility acceleration range, just to have him get upfield cuts. If you're going to put him in the slot, I know you have him here listed on the outside, but as far as the Rams playbook goes, I have Torrey Smith currently on one team, and he does a really nice job for my squad. I also have Bryce Butler, who's on Xbox, who I would look to move on from. So that really is going to depend, but I would say that this second receiver would be your next area of upgrade, unless you want to go and get, unless you're putting C.J. Spiller in the slot here or getting a Reggie Bush type player. I think San Antonio Holmes has similar stats to the Edelman for lower. It might give you a little bit more get up upfield, despite not having the catch in traffic. So that's where you're saving on this card with the catch in traffic from Holmes. But I'd like to see some better slot receivers. And I'm going to be doing receivers and offense on my next podcast. So we'll get even more in-depth with actual guys we can go after. But generally, receivers have been pretty tough to come by so far from what I've seen. Your line, you're solid all the way across the board. There's nothing really to say. Cordy Glenn's a great option with the pass block. His run block's a little bit low, but he's got pretty good strength, so he shouldn't get pushed back too far. You just want to check these guys. Like I've said, you want to make sure that you're not paying to have a guy who's valuable, that you can get his stats from somebody else. 82 run block and only 86 strength. I'd like to see you get a little bit better at center than Garza. Same thing with Adams here. You're going to see only 86 strength, 82 run block. You can find a better right tackle than that. So I think your line, while you do have a decent overall across the board, you can get better there for not that much of a cost. Defensively, huge fan of this Justin Smith. This Poe, I think, is probably one of the best items in the game. His regular version is absolutely ridiculous, so his 90 defensive tackle version is pretty amazing. He's obviously going for a huge amount of coins, so if you did want to upgrade, you could, but look at that. These green stats are what is, making him worth so much at this time. So that's a great player to build your defense around for sure. As we keep digging, though, like I said, this style's pretty weak, and if you wanted to play a 3-4, you have two really good 3-4 ends right here. Or, you either have 2 3-4 ends, or you have 2 out of the 3 linemen that you'd need. The good thing about playing a 3-4 is guys are inexpensive. So you could lay these 3 guys down pretty nice, Will Fork, and have that 3-4. But the problem is that your linebackers here are not good. These aren't guys that I would play in a 3-4 under really any circumstance. There's much better guys out there. I'd like to see you go and pick up, Manny Lawson, Khalil Mack, the guys we talked about on the podcast today. I think you can get a lot better than what you're going with at this current time if you're going to play the 3-4. I think you are set up to play a very nice 3-4, but ultimately you've got to do a little bit more. If you want to play a 4-3, I like what you have with your 2 defensive tackles in the middle. I think this would be pretty good. Avril's really solid off the edge, actually. This is a nice card. So he's kind of your swing card. If you play a 3-4, he goes up here. 4-3, he comes down here. But I'd get rid of Greenway, Tulloch, Dansby. None of these guys should be playing. You can do much better. As far as defense goes, great zone coverage here. This Pac-Man's also got very good zone coverage, so I like what you've done there. I think that you're going to get good value out of those guys. Last couple notes on D. At the safety position, let's see what you have. Ryan Clark's going to have the hit stick. Chris Clemens is going to have a little bit of speed. So, you've got the free safety, you've got the speed with a little bit of hit power. I think he's a nice cheap item. But, once again, Matt Elam can be had for a similar cost, and it's going to be, pretty much just as good with a little bit more hit power. So maybe look into him. Free safety. Speed-wise, you kind of put yourself at a disadvantage at the free safety position. I don't disagree with the hit power, but I think, if you use your strong safety, maybe you get away with it, but 84, 85 Excel, that's a little bit low for a free safety who should be like roaming around the defense and making plays all over the place. So, I'd like to see you get another speed guy. You can have Ryan Clark in your run sets, but when you go to a full pass defense, you want to get a much faster free safety with probably 90 speed. Look at Eric Reed to see if you can make plays more around the ball. All right, so let's go back to this guy, Abakad, and check out his lineup. Now, he has a lineup that usually I would say a lot of people like to get actual feedback on these, and a lot of people just like to send me their lineup because they have a great lineup and are impressed by it. I'm pretty impressed by this guy's lineup. However, I can see some areas where he needs to upgrade. This Marty B, I'm a big fan of due to his height, but at 79 speed and 83 catching traffic, you can do a lot better than that. It looks like this guy spent a lot of his coins on probably the Julio, the Shady, and the Brady. I would sell the Brady in about 2 seconds and pick up somebody else. I think we just looked at that Foles. I don't see any reason that the Foles can't do what the Brady card can do for 50,000 less coins. I think that's where I'd pick up some money if I wanted to really shore up the rest of the areas of my squad. McCoy, obviously the best back in the game for my money. I think he's a little bit better than the Charles if he could prove to hang on to the ball just as nice. At receiver, I love what you've done. I think Torrey Smith is a great option here. Trindon in the slot. You've got the 2 Mike Evans, so obviously you're going to probably want to combine one of those. Maybe move Torrey Smith in the slot. Or see if you can pick up like a shifty inside guy, depending on how many 3 sets you like to use, 3 receiver sets. I have not used this Julio, but boy, would I like to. He's one of the best elites in the game. And receivers, you just can't really fake the blend of everything that they can bring to the table. These stats in here, the release, spec catch, speed, these are the guys that are going to have it. So other guys, you can't fake. A cheap receiver is always going to have that one thing that separates them on the market. Like Trenton Holly is always going to have speed, but he can't do anything else. Torrey Smith, he's balanced all the way around, but he's not as balanced as Julio is at every level. Mike Evans doesn't have, usually that speed, that real top-end speed. But this is a great Evans card. Your line, pretty solid across the board. Like to see you maybe, go with that strength, go with that, great strength here, great run block. Here's the thing, though. In my opinion, I'd rather see the run block be 96 on run block. I'm not really concerned about run block strength at 96. So I feel like you might think this card's really good. And I like the strength. I don't disagree with that. But I feel like this guy with 78, if he starts getting blown up, I think that might be the reason. So just keep an eye on it if guys are block shedding off of him. And I'd go through the rest of your line and just look at that as well. This Wisniewski, 86 strength. I like the 88 run block, but the 86 is close. The centers don't have much different. There's only 1 or 2 that are a little bit better. So you're pretty set there. Defensively, once again, looks like you've spent most of your money on offense. I like this Jenkins. Good speed, good blend of a lot of things. Leon Hall, let's take a look. If you're playing a lot of man defense, you're going to have, some trouble. Hall's set up for the zone where Jenkins is a little bit more set up. So it's interesting. Some people will go all zone coverage at their corners. Some guys will go all man. You have kind of Leon Hall, who's a slower zone coverage style, and then Jenkins, who's a more fast man-to-man style. So unless you're I want to make sure that you're using those two guys to their strengths and not contradicting yourself with who you pick. If you put Jenkins in a flat zone when he's facing a fast receiver, it's not going to matter. But if you're using him to man up a real fast guy and then dropping Hall on the other side into zone or something, that's where you're going to see the benefits. With Ike Taylor, 91 speed, 84 zone, you can do a lot better than this card. For very inexpensive, I'd sell this card in a second and look to just move up to the next level CB. We talked about some earlier on the show. Michael Griffin, Stevie Brown, Kenny Vaccaro. Absolutely love this Kenny Vaccaro card. I think he's one of the top 3 probably strong safeties for decent cost in the game. So I like what you've done there. Let me take a look at that Michael Griffin, though, and see what he brings to the table. I know he's pretty fast, per usual. All right. Yeah, I mean, this guy, he can get it done. He can get it done for you. Pretty solid. Pretty solid option. For what you're building, you've definitely spent a lot on offense. I would definitely sell to Brady, though, get some coins, and build. You've got a slow linebacking core, so if that starts to haunt you, that's really up to you if you want to make the adjustments and costs. I love this DeVito. Picked one up myself. Maybe get a better defensive tackle. Look to get some guys that have a little bit more block shedding. So this Dan Williams, though, clutch. Pretty key. 93 strength, 89 block shed. You're paying for stuffing the run with him. 83 power move is where he's going to lack and why he's going to not cost quite as much. But for the value you got this guy at, that's one of the best run stopping cards at that level of player. Once again, he's not going to really be able to rush with 83 power move, but that's okay. Colin Jenkins. Also, there's a Linval Joseph that's pretty similar to these as well. So this guy, 75 block shed, 86 strength. He's obviously your backup, but you get much better value with the Dan Williams. At LB, once again, we talked about it. It looks like the guys are a little bit slower, but it looks like I would guess they probably have pretty solid zone coverage. They all have really good play rec, pursuit, tackle. So you're gonna hang, but 78 speed, it worries me a little bit, depending on your scheme, because now you have great defensive ends. Looks like none of these guys are really going to rush the passer on their own, so if you got to send a guy off the edge, you're going to be pretty vulnerable. The Burfict's going to have the hit power, but once again, only 76 speed. Very good zone, though. So, he's definitely a good middle linebacker, but you want to leverage him with other guys that have some pretty good wheels. Whereas I don't think... Let me check the Puslesny. 94 tackle. Decent. Pretty decent. But once again, a little slow. So not necessarily saying get rid of these guys, but at least back them up with some speedier second options. And that's pretty much how I feel about your team. Once again, you went big on offense, which I dig. I think you've got great value here with Williams, DeVito. Jenkins and Hall are kind of contradictory, but they're both pretty good players on their own. But you want to make sure that they're working for your scheme. Vaccaro is nice. I would go free safety 1, getting a little bit more speed in here 2, probably start it right outside, and then I think you're going to be a little bit better off, and then grab a different slot corner depending on if you're playing more man or zone. So once again, guys, if you have a lineup that you want to see broken down on MutHead, just send me the link over. Tweet me at Madden Bible, at ZFarls. It helps me look at them, and then I can click them and show you guys. So if you like that, that would be helpful. And until next time on the MUT Podcast, ZFarls signing out.